Hey everybody, it's me, Greg Miller, and I wanted to let you know Comic-Con is coming up and Kinda Funny is going to be there. So if you're at San Diego, we have a bunch of stuff you can come do with us, and you don't even have to have a Comic-Con badge. On Thursday, we're going to Polite Provisions. We're doing a meet and greet there. 5 p.m. You don't need a Comic-Con badge. You do need to be 21. Don't blame me. Those are the drinking laws in the United States of America. Friday, we're doing the GameOverGreggy show at Petco Park as part of Geek and Sundry Studio Stage. No Comic-Con badges required. We're doing that at 3 p.m. And then I'm moderating a whole bunch of Comic-Con panels if you do have a Comic-Con badge, so come hang out with me in the convention center. All the details are up on kindafunny.com/news, so head over there for the full rundown. My topic comes from one of my favorite websites of all time, twitter.com/no-taxation/status 61537373255546624.
I enjoy that a lot.
Perhaps we could just link this image in the episode.
I'm editing it, so I'm sure that'll happen.
Okay, great.
Kevin's making note of it, I'm sure. So Colin Moriarty was on the Twitter. He asked me if I saw this image. I showed it to you earlier.
Yes.
It's every superhero movie now to 2019.
Thank you.
Everything that's coming up. I will read through them real quickly and then ask the question Colin asked.
In
that
chronological
I said save
order.
for this. Chronological order. Ant-Man in July. Fantastic Four August. Deadpool February. Batman v Superman March. Civil War Captain America May. X-Men Apocalypse May 2016. Doctor Strange July 2016. Suicide Squad August 2016. Gambit October 2016. Wolverine 3 March 2017. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, May 2017. Wonder Woman, June 2017. Spider-Man, July 2017. Fantastic Four 2, July 2017. Thor, Ragnarok, Odyssey, November 2017. Justice League, November 2017. March 2018, that's The Flash. Avengers, Infinity War Part 1, May 2018. Black Panther, July 2018. Aquaman, July 2018. Captain Marvel, November 2018. April 2019 brings us the Flash movie. Avengers Infinity War Part 2.
Second Flash movie?
No, I didn't say second Flash.
That's the Flash right there on March 18th. So is this a Flash 2? Or is that Shazam? What is that?
That's the wrong logo if that's your Sam. It's not clickable.
Oh.
We'll look into it.
We're going to look into that.
Avengers Infinity War Part 2, May 2019. Justice League 2, June 2019. Inhumans, July
Oh,
2019.
it can't be Shazam because that's Captain Marvel right there.
All right, don't worry about it,
social
Chief. I'll
media
get it.
pickup on that one.
300?
Not bad.
Wow.
Not bad.
It's because you insulted it. So the question is, Colin tweeted, no, the bottom won't fall out. Definitely not lol. Thanks to all who shared this image with me.
Thanks for the capital LOL. Just like a giant wall.
The question
I
is,
appreciate that.
which one of these is going to be the first movie to bomb? Now let's figure out what April 2019 is. April 2019.
See,
what's the definition of bomb?
None of them will bomb.
None of them will bomb.
None of them will
It's
bomb.
Shazam.
Is it Shazam?
Well, that's on that person because that's not the Shazam logo. That's a Flash logo. They should fucking learn
Shazam's
what the
just
fuck
one-
they're doing. It's a lightning bolt.
One lightning bolt.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
not the multiples.
What is your definition of bomb?
Bomb to me means that it does not make its money back.
Okay.
And that
There are
let me
multiple movies on
preface,
that list that will not make their
it
money
does
back.
not make a profit, which I think all of these will. I think all of these will make a defined profit, and not in the United States. Some of these might not do well in the United States, but they will do well in the foreign markets because they convert so well easily. They translate so well over in foreign markets. It's ridiculous. And also half of these are probably being shot in China right now, so they're probably getting huge stipends for that.
Yeah,
subsidies for that, rather.
I asked that because my definition of bottom falling out is not necessarily a financial fatigue, because who really gives a shit if the studios make money or not. The question is, will viewers like them, and will viewers go to see them? And there are multiple movies on this list that people are not going to care about.
All right, let's go piece by piece then. Ant-Man.
Ant-Man's apparently getting good reviews,
People
but
are
I
gonna
think
go see it and
because
like
it's
it.
the tip of the spear.
Of what?
Of the well, not only this,
The
but
tip of the end.
of the movement to of pre-announcing. This is the first Marvel movie that was like pre-announced a long time ago that's coming out. Correct?
No.
When they did that
For
DC
Wave 2 or 3, yes.
That's
But
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying, for
Marvel.
DC
But Marvel announced Wave 1 a long time ago, Colin. That had a whole bunch of movies going out.
But I'm saying for that DC Marvel when they were going back and forth about a year ago or so, and that's when they got all the way down here to the Inhumans, and then I guess is that DC?
Yeah, that's Shazam. Yeah.
So that's more what I'm talking about. This is when the conversation really began about comic book movies.
Okay.
Being like westerns, for instance.
Yeah, it was like what? It was like 2 Comic-Cons ago.
Yeah, I mean this shit's
When
all
they were
stupid
like,
anyway.
check this out, and then in 2019, and then in 2034, and then in 2078, you're like, what the fuck?
Ant-Man's probably going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to do great, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Ant-Man. I don't think that's one of the ones that's going to do. That's going to be bad.
Taking it piece by piece. Ant-Man, everyone's going to go see because they're all going to wonder.
It's going to do really
Everyone's
well.
going to wonder if it's good or not. That's going to be that is the tip of the spear. You're right. Fantastic Four might not do that well.
That's the one that I'm identifying as the first one that doesn't do well.
That might be the first one that people are like, it's good, it's going to make money, but it might not be the blowout success that they're hoping for.
Yeah,
And
but
actually,
also, I mean, it's
hoping
Fox,
it's going to be a blowout.
so it's like
success.
I don't even think that's in the same playing field as a lot of these other ones. Like Fantastic Four, it's a reboot from
Of a series that
the
didn't-
other guys. You know,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
Marvel. It's not.
Well, no, but
DC.
Fox has.
They have X-Men.
They have
Good
X-Men.
for them. Cool.
But Days of
it's
Future
not
Past was
X-Men
good,
though.
and
But
it
it's
was
not
cool.
X-Men though. It's something else. Like,
But
Fox really is X-Men. Like all the other stuff they've had is like you don't even count it. It's not really part of the universe. This is the first time that they're building the universe that's not X-Men.
See,
right?
but
that's
this
the-
is the hard thing for the next 3 of these, or the next 5 of these I'm looking at, or 6 of them, I really want to see. So for me,
6?
I'm fascinated by Ant-Man. I actually really, really like Miles Teller, and I like the Fantastic.
I like Michael B. Jordan,
this-
too.
I like Michael B. Jordan. I like.
It's based more on the Ultimate
Kate
Fantastic
Mara.
Four, which I prefer.
I think it looks cool. I'm gonna go see that. Deadpool isn't that one of the
must-see.
first R-rated?
Yeah.
You gotta see
That's
that.
gonna be fucking
because it's gonna be
awesome.
fucking gory and bloody. Everyone wants to ride the Superman Batman train just to see where that one takes us.
A lifelong dream come true. Batman and Superman on the same screen.
Captain America: Civil War is a given.
Of
Gotta
course.
see
I mean,
that day one.
that is going to be the biggest Marvel movie.
in the
since Avengers.
yeah, it's gonna be huge. X-Men Apocalypse. I gotta see
They have so much
because
goodwill coming off the last X-Men
coming
film.
off that
That's
last
gonna be
one.
fine.
They do. What's the next one?
Doctor Strange. That's the one. That's the first. I mean, I think Fantastic Four is going to underperform, but I think Doctor Strange, the first like Marvel movie. You know, you're talking about the cinematic universe where it's going to be like what?
But again,
What?
I think that's dependent on Ant-Man.
Well,
and
also
things like
it's
that.
dependent on.
But I think Ant-Man's
don't
gonna
we
be fine.
need? Oh, I guess Doctor Strange isn't built into.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
apocalypse
well,
to-
let's
to,
back up a
Infinity
little bit.
Gauntlet.
We're going too far. You know, first of all, to Tim's point with the Fantastic Four coming from Fox and not being integrated, it doesn't matter. That's not the point of this. Like the point is that there's no dearth of superhero movies. They all exist in the same world, the Earth. So like that, like they're all coming out in movie theaters. It's not about the way they interact with each other. In my mind, it's about how they interact with each other on the market.
Well,
in
that's
other
what I'm
words, it's
saying,
not
though.
about their universes.
But,
because
but it is though, because the public's interest is in the universes. Like the public thinks of Marvel movies as being quality. Whereas
I think you guys. I firmly believe this. That I think you guys overestimate significantly people's interest in the universes as opposed to the individual characters and the movies and the events of going to see these movies.
I definitely don't.
We are in a bubble where, because what you're basically suggesting is that there's 100 million people in the United States that give a fuck about the Avengers.
But see, I'm basing this off mainly of the girlfriends of my friends, and even my friends barely care. It's like, oh, I watched the '90s Marvel cartoons. Like that's their extent of comic knowledge, right?
pretty
And
much
like
the extent of my
all
comic
of their
knowledge as
girlfriends
well.
are excited about the. And I'm saying their girlfriends because these people specifically are not into any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But they are now entrenched in the Disney Marvel movies, like specifically because it's Disney and because there is this quality and because it is this thing where it's everything adds on top of each other and there's like all that stuff. They're into that, you know. They don't give a fuck about X-Men or.
I'll tell you,
Fantastic
the
Four.
other day I went and saw Jurassic Park in IMAX 3D, as we all know. I've regaled everyone with that story in my
World.
private life. Jurassic World, excuse me. They show extended previews for things in IMAX, which I did not realize. I assume that's just some sort of way to get people to pay the exorbitant price for the ticket. The only reason I went was because it was the only time that I could actually go. But they showed the first 5 minutes of Ant-Man, and I was like, damn it. It's actually really entertaining.
They got you.
They got
All
me.
right.
So I have to go see that. But Colin, another thing to consider is this. Moviegoers don't necessarily think in terms of like how many movies they're consuming, right? So if you look at the schedule, it would be different if they were all coming out within like 2 weeks of each other or even on the same weekend. But these are so well spaced out. Like the 2 studios have somehow managed to not step on each other's
3
coattails.
studios.
3 studios rather. That I think. I mean, look at once a month. Yeah, everyone's gonna go see them. If you saw Ant-Man, you're gonna go see Fantastic Four.
Everyone
probably.
is not going to go see all these movies. I think that people that think that by 2019 there's not going to be a significant bottoming out of this fucking market is deluding
By
themselves.
2019, probably, but not in the next 2 years.
Like it's just this is what I wrote. I did a longer thing, a conversation with people, I think, on our Facebook group, where I was like, first of all, I hope they all do well. I know a lot of people care about a lot of these movies, and I think it's great. I'm just saying that comic book movies are not immune to the negative market force of oversaturation. Nothing is immune to it. I don't give a fuck what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
but you're also talking about a marketplace where like the Transformer movies still blow box offices away, and these are movies that literally
suck.
If you go see them,
they
don't make any sense.
I mean, that's coming
and
from
they're also not good.
A huge Transformers
They're
fan.
terrible, but they're making it. Aren't they going to make another one?
And that's why I
They're
wanted
making a universe of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, there's so like people don't. It sucks, but it is one of those things where it's like the. I guess we're not really talking about the quality. You are talking about saturation, so that is a good. It is a valid point, but I just don't think people care. I think that people are like, oh, what am I going to do this weekend? Go to a movie. What's out? Fantastic Four. Dope. What's Fantastic Four? Who cares? It's a comic book movie. Let's go see it. Like. I think the thing I hear from a lot of people is that no one's critical of these movies. Like, I personally am suffering from comic book movie fatigue.
Like, I'm over it. Avengers 2, it's like, I watched it, and I can't believe I watched that movie for as good as it is, and it was just like, all right.
That was fun.
But I think even a few people brought this up to me because I don't know enough about Avengers 2. Where they were saying like Avengers 2 made a lot of money, but it actually underperformed. Like it
didn't do what Avengers did.
So there you go. Like it's already happening in small, mild ways where it's like. Well, the second one didn't do as good as the first one. Empire did way better than Star Wars. Jedi did better than Empire. You know?
I mean, traditionally the sequels do better, but also you have to remember it wasn't a direct sequel to Avengers. They already had the sequel, which was the second Captain America movie, which did very, very well.
This is like total nonsense.
It's not a matter of nonsensical. It is, but you're also comparing something that was one of the highest. Actually, it was the highest grossing opening weekend box office movie up until what just recently came out and dethroned it. Jurassic World just came out and dethroned it.
Right, but that needs to be adjusted for inflation as well.
Well,
so I'm curious about how like Gone with the Wind is still the most profitable movie of all time.
They always say that, and you always have to, of course, take into account the fact that there's more 3D screens or more IMAX screens or whatever. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you're comparing it to the sort of pinnacle of what I mean. Avengers blew it out. That was like 5-6 movies in the 8 movies in the making to get to Avengers.
Yeah, there won't be another Avengers.
There won't be another one of those. So, but you're also taking out you have to also take into mind that it not doing well is still it making hundreds of millions of dollars.
But that's why I wanted to identify like what do we mean by like bottoming out? Is it an economic bottoming out, which would be affected by the bottoming out of interest? Because I think a lot of these movies will be profitable. A lot of these movies need to go overseas, especially places like you said, like China and Western Europe, to be profitable. Which
it's fine. That's every movie though.
No, I know, but that shows that even Hollywood, and that's why Hollywood has to bet on big things like this because they can't there's no room for risk anymore. But back to what I was trying to say was that I think Ant-Man is the tip of the spear of this whole movement because this is when people started really talking about the shit was with Ant-Man and Ant-Man. Well, with this whole movement of all of these movies being announced, and Ant-Man was the first one. So Fantastic Four, I don't think is going to do well.
Hold on, stop.
Yeah.
You're the guy who asked you're the one saying the bottom will fall. For you, what's the bottom falling out?
So for me, the bottom fall. Well, it's gonna bottom out first with interest and then with money. Okay. So I think by the end of this, a lot of these movies are gonna lose money.
Well, Inhumans.
Now,
I'm a comic book fan. I don't give a shit about Inhumans. Captain Marvel, I don't give a shit about. Shazam. Rock's in it, so that's cool. Black Panther. I'm a DC guy. I don't care about Black Panther. I'm super excited about Aquaman, which means that for every fucking nerd DC kid, I'm a nerdy DC kid. So if I'm super excited about Aquaman, somebody's excited about Black Panther.
I guess.
Thor. Stop making Thor standalone movies. They've never been good. Justice League can't wait for. Wonder Woman I'm excited for, but I
Wonder
understand
Woman's
that.
gonna bomb, I think.
I don't think it's gonna. Well, so what? A definition of bomb?
Wonder Woman's not gonna make its money back.
It'll totally make its money back.
It will.
I think that
it's the first time we've seen a live action Wonder Woman movie, and it'll make its money.
I don't understand this whole and maybe it's just my own again because I know I'm the villain in this particular argument. A lot of our users are always mad at
being villain. It's going to happen, but you have to also remember that for everyone that's a fan of comic books, they're looking at this salivating. They're probably thinking, dude, this is awesome. The next 3 years of my life.
I know.
Look
Can
at
you
all these things
imagine goddamn, when I was a kid with all my Wizard magazine posters on the wall? Fucking shit.
I don't know. I feel
jacking off to that instead of porn. No, I'd be jacking off to that.
Fans of what is that? This is what I'm saying. Comic books don't sell. So what are
But characters sell.
Exactly. But that's a weird argument. And this is I'm not able to really get any of my arguments out in this conversation. Comic books don't sell. So if you're a comic book fan of this, that's great. There's a few 100,000 hardcore comic fans, basically. In the United States that are buying comics on a daily or weekly basis, right? Well, it can't possibly be more than that because I've seen the sales of even huge comic books that are like 50,000 a week.
Yeah.
Right? So, is that accurate? You know these numbers.
I mean, yeah, comics are profitable, but they're not like fucking over the moon money.
Okay, so they're not aiming at that, right? They're not necessarily aiming at those people because they're not a profitable sect. If you're going after comic book fans, you're not going to make any money. So what they're trying to do is, and maybe a few 100,000 is a way low number, but there maybe let's say there's a few million people in the United States that consider themselves hardcore comic fans, right? And the numbers of comics being sold, I think it was Thor when they made the female Thor, they released those numbers, and I think it was like 70,000 one week and 50,000 the next week. So it was like, okay, that's respectable. I mean, I'm sure they made a lot of money. These are made for the wider audience, which is why I question a lot of the choices they're making.
Sure.
Right? Ant-Man's a weird choice. I think that's a totally bizarre choice. But if the movie's good, that's great. Fantastic Four, we've seen them before. Deadpool, I think, is going to be actually really huge because of the nature of who Deadpool is and the fact that it's rated R. Batman vs Superman, I'm convinced it's going to be awful, but I'm going to go see it.
It's going to make so much money.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go see it. I think the movie's going to be absolutely terrible. But but I like Batman a lot. I'm rooting for it to be good because I know it means a lot to people like Greg who want a good Superman movie. Civil War is going to be huge, no doubt about it. X-Men's going to be huge. Doctor Strange is the one I look at where
that might be the one for me where people start to go, I'm just not going to do this.
Right.
But you have to also understand though that those movies are just to keep market share, right? A lot of these, like the secondary characters, are just to have something to keep reminding the public that the next big thing's coming,
and to build a sidekick for the next movie. And like that's the reason. So right now, I think we all agree that Doctor Strange is the one that we're looking at here, where we're like, but it's like a couple years back we'd be saying that about Ant-Man.
Yeah,
but it's like now Ant-Man we're looking at like, this is different, but it couldn't be good. A couple years ago, Guardians of the Galaxy was the Inhumans.
That's 100%
where we're
correct.
Like, who the fuck cares? But it's like now, I can't wait for Guardians 2.
Yeah.
You know?
I really want, and that's actually probably one of the ones I'm looking most forward to, just because they did something different with that. It was more like, it was that ensemble cast that was a lot different than you thought it was going to be. I don't know if I'll see I'm sure I'll see the Inhumans. I'm sure I'll see all of these at some point. That's a shit thing. It's like they got me already. I'm fascinated one way or the other. And I know some of them are going to be good, and I'm going to be fascinated to see if they're as good as I want them to be. And I know some of them are going to be bad, and I want to see how bad they're going to be.
But that's the thing, like Thor, right?
Like the Thors, I love seeing the Thors. They're terrible. They're not great.
They're bad. I've never seen a Thor in theaters. I've always seen them later, and
They're
I've always
huge
been like, I
spectacle
didn't
films.
need to watch that.
I see them. I wait for that one spot, that one time, like scene where Chris Hemsworth takes his shirt off, and I go,
the one scene.
There's usually only one. And so far in the standalone Thor movies, there's been 2 scenes specifically where he walks out with no shirt completely. I'm not talking like the arms. I'm talking he walks out and you're like, there are gaps in your waistline because your muscles protrude so much. There are like you could stuff fucking cones right in the thrust bucket thing that he's got. You know what I mean?
The thrust bucket.
Yeah, the little part of the flying V that he's got down there. You could put like soda cans, just put them in there, and he wouldn't even feel them because there's so much space between his abs and his waistline. It's amazing. It's amazing, this man. So I watched that scene, and then I'm like, cool, let's watch the rest of this. Plus, I do think he has really good chemistry with Natalie Portman, but the movies have just been filler. They're just filler, really.
The flaw I have with your argument, Colin, is when you talk about that comics don't sell, so obviously that's not who they're going to.
Well,
let me finish.
That was a direct relationship to what I said, which I said comic book fans are looking at this saying, "Oh, they're salivating."
Right.
I misspoke. What I meant is fans of nerd culture in general.
That's that's the argument. Is like, you're a Batman fan, you don't read comics. How many fucking Wonder Woman fans do I know? Do I see wearing Wonder Woman necklaces, shirts, whatever, that I know aren't reading the new 52 Wonder Woman? So I mean, if you go like that, then I mean, you're finding all these different people. Like again, Doctor Strange is, I think we all agree, a weak one, but Suicide Squad's Joker, Gambit's X-Men, Wolverine. I mean, Guardians has already proven itself. Wonder Woman's Wonder Woman. Spider-Man. Fantastic Four 2, if Fantastic Four 1 doesn't do well, then maybe they even take that off. Thor's Thor. Justice League's everybody you ever wanted to see ever. Flash fans. Avengers are back here with the first part of the Infinity War, so we'll finally get to see Thanos, this thing they've been building to. Black Panther, again, is where I think now that we're back to there being a weak link. Aquaman, they've hopefully proven the case for Aquaman and Justice League, even, and on top of that, Batman v Superman. There's an awesome chance that Aquaman or Wonder Woman both show up and do the Hulk moment in Batman v Superman where they fucking steal the show, and you're like, holy fuck, I'd love to see a whole movie about them. Well, good news, it's coming in 2 years or a year or whatever. Captain Marvel, like I said, yeah, we'll see what the hell happens with that. Shazam, again, it's The Rock. We'll see what happens as Black Adam in that one, right? Then back to Avengers to complete the fact with Thanos. Justice League 2 to see whatever we did here. To also, hopefully, you now care about Aquaman, you care about Wonder Woman, and then Humans, yeah. So, I mean, the ones that, like, I find that there's no touchstone, there's, like, all this thing. And again, this is me mainly as the DC fan, right? As Doctor Strange, Inhumans, Shazam, maybe Captain Marvel, Black Panther. Like, there's just, and Aquaman will be for a lot of people. There aren't Aquaman fans. There are a few or whatever, but there aren't, like, that. If we're talking about Aquaman fans, you are a DC Comics book fan. You read Jeff Johns' New 52 run. So then it becomes that hopefully Justice League or Batman v Superman sold you that Jason Momoa is this awesome dude. You want to see him do his thing.
I want to be clear that, ideally all of these movies would be great because I know that people are excited about them. My observation is not one of taste, because if it was about taste, half these movies are going to be garbage, and we all know that. So like it's not necessarily a matter of taste, right? I can look at half of this and be like, I would bet many of these movies are going to be bad. Right? It's not necessarily about that. I want the movies to be great, and I want them to make lots of money, and people keep making them. What I think people ignore with my particular argument is that there comes a saturation point with all things, everything, And people are arguing, well, DC is not the same as Marvel or this studio or that studio. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter to the mom that has a 9-year-old kid that wants to go see these movies, and after going to see 3 of them and is like, and then maybe they don't enjoy 2 of them, and then suddenly they bottom out and they drop out, and that kind of thing happens. The Comic-Con kind of overwhelming success of these things over the last few years with comic conventions and stuff like that. What I've always been inspired by, and as a nerd and a different kind of cut from a different kind of cloth, is seeing so many people at these conventions that do not read comics and have no affinity to comics and have no affinity to comic book characters. And they are there because they enjoy this TV show. They like to dress up as this character or that character. It's not to say the comic fans are out there. I don't mean to disparage comic book readers by saying there's only a few million of you in the United States that buy comics, because that is just the numbers, right? But it is to say that I don't quite understand why everyone gets so excited about anything that has a superhero in it. And like, maybe we need to be a little more discerning about the movies that like we want to see made and we don't want to see made. And that is the frustrating point for me. When you see something like the Nolan trilogy come out and it's a fucking masterpiece to the point where the second movie is considered one of the best movies made that decade. I was talking to my girlfriend about this. I was like, could you imagine a Batman movie being considered one of the great movies of the 2000s, and it is, that the villain was nominated for an Academy Award? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but that is a significant step forward, and now and I feel like without there being a dearth of superhero movies or any thought being put into it, because I'm sorry, there's no thought being put into this other than the fact of like, well, we can tease this character here so that they go and give us money the next time and all this kind of stuff. That's not.
You mean it's thought as far as the actual story?
Yeah, like, is it going to be good? Like, those are the things I care about, because like. It is like everyone always points to the Western and how it took 30 years for the Western to collapse. Well, that's true, but movie audiences were less fickle back then than they are now. Movie theaters
also wasn't as much.
Exactly, and movie theaters are also dying.
They are dying.
It's hard for me to put into words like why I look at something like this particular grid and I get concerned, because I'm like, what makes any of this special anymore? What draws you to want to see every one of these movies? When someone tweets me and they're like, I want to see every one of those movies, and I'm like, but why? I'm a sci-fi fan, but that doesn't mean I want to see every science fiction movie, because I don't want to give my money to the bullshit or support the things that like aren't going to bring science fiction forward or make it meaningful. You know what I mean? So there's like way too much fandom surrounding this shit, and that's the thing that bothers me. That's the one salient point that I'm like, that's what bothers me. Just because it comes from a fucking comic book doesn't mean that it's going to be good or worthwhile. You know what I mean? And that's why I look at something like this and I'm concerned. I'm like, they're just trying to get all of their money now because they know that too. And it couldn't be any more obvious. That's why the Star Wars movies are coming out in 6 years, 6 of them in 6 years. You know what I mean? Get it while the going's good. You know? And so there's an oversaturation point that I think is going to be instrumental here. Am I going to be wrong? Sure. I've been wrong about a bunch of things with comic books. I don't know the industry, you know? All I'm saying is that as an outside observer, I'd be way more excited if you cut fucking 3/5 of these out and made sure that the other 2/5 were really, really fucking awesome and that they were awesome events. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I could already look at 2 of these movies and know that they're going to be bad. Batman versus Superman, I have no hope for that movie. Suicide Squad, just looking at the Joker in that movie makes me nervous about seeing it. I'll be there because I like the Batman inclusion of some of those characters, but you know, I'm already getting bad vibes from some of these things, and some of them are established. Civil War is going to be huge. Guardians of the Galaxy, no doubt about it. And Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example of a movie that I would have looked at and been like, who the fuck cares about that? Totally wrong. So I could be wrong about all of this, but I see another Spider-Man reboot.
But it's hard because when you look at this, you can't just lump all these into it's the superhero genre. It's like that's a classification, but it's not so much a genre. Like these movies have genres, you know?
Well, no, I think at this point the superhero movie is a genre. And
Yeah,
I think
that's,
that,
okay,
and I
yeah,
think
but
that's
it's
what
like
people
labels
are.
and labels and labels, but it's just like they each have different genres of movie.
Well, I mean, they're
some are
different
more
types of movies,
like
sure.
there's comedies, there's dramas, there's action. You know what I mean? Like there's differences between all of it. And it's like at one point, it's just these are just movies. So it's like, is there too many movies coming out? Like,
Well, that's-
where
I
do
mean,
why do we have an argument about this specifically? You know?
Colin mentions the Western, and that is a very, very, very important like genre to remember because the Western used to be very, very prevalent up until probably I want to say the 80s. In the 80s, they just stopped. Now, they used to make Westerns all the time. There used to be like multiple Westerns in theaters. Maybe I think Clint Eastwood made his entire career off making like Western after Western after Western after Western. That was one of the most popular genres available in cinema. Now you don't see it. When's the last Western that came out? Not counting a Seth MacFarlane Western,
Yeah.
which I don't count that as a Western. That's more of a spoof, right? So I mean, eventually these will die. We are in the middle of this right now. Hopefully, we're at the beginning of it, so the studios can remain salient, or solvent. But eventually, yes. I mean, I can even feel it myself, right? I'm sure Tim will be like, Nick, we got to go see Ant-Man at midnight, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to see that, right? I probably will this time, but I don't know if I'm gonna see I'm not seeing Fantastic Four at midnight. I'm just not gonna see that, right?
Yeah.
And in me, that's almost disappointing because I'm like, dude, I would have when I was a kid, I would have absolutely waited.
Well,
in
no,
line.
I mean that's just the boat changing. I mean, it's already the tides have changed. Just where I don't go see everything at midnight anymore, and there's movies I don't go see. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I made sure when all the Marvel movies were releasing, right? Not even being a Marvel guy, I went and saw them all right away. But like when Thor 2 came around, no. And then once that domino hit, then a million other did too. Where it just came up, and I'm like, I have no desire to go see that. No, so that's why, like, yeah, Fantastic Four, they're gonna have to try really hard to get me to go see that. Ant-Man, you guys will probably go see it at midnight, which I won't want to do. And then yeah, I don't know when I'll ever see it. Deadpool, I'm in for. Superman, obviously. Civil War, X-Men, like I like the last X-Men. You know what I mean, but like I'm not. Middle of the night, go see it. I'll get to when I get to it. Doctor Strange, I have no desire to. They have to completely work from scratch on that. Suicide Squad, I'm obviously in. Gambit, I don't care about. Wolverine, I'll want to go see in theaters. Guardians 2, I enjoyed Guardians 1, I'll go see it. Wonder Woman, of course. New Spider-Man, I hope, again, it's one of those things where I hope he's so good in Civil War or whatever that it's like I want to know more about him. Fantastic Four obviously depends on Fantastic Four, so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, I think that
But real quick too, sorry
sorry.
to get around. I disagree with you that they're not doing anything or building anything. I think that what we're talking about with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that there is something there. There is something to it. I like the fact that everybody exists in the same thing, which is exciting.
yeah,
and it's unprecedented. It's never happened before.
I respect that. All I'm saying is that there's no. It makes me cringe, frankly, that a Marvel or DC or whatever can be like, here are all the movies we're going to come out in 4 or 5 years, and everyone gets excited about it. It makes me fucking cringe.
But
you
isn't
know
that,
what I mean? Like,
isn't that
and
what we do with games?
No, I don't get that way with games. That's why I like with you know
Final Fantasy
I'm
VII?
totally I think it's exciting that they announced it now. I'm totally full of skepticism about whether the game's even going to come out.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like it there's just something so off about the way this is all happening. Like I know it's such an unpopular opinion, and I know a lot of our fans or whatever, I mean, they're just gonna, you know, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that I'm not feeling it. You know, like there's something He's not feeling it. There's just, when I look at this grid, I'm like, there's just something totally off about this. Like Sony's gonna shove another Spider-Man reboot down your throat, and you're gonna go see it. They just rebooted Spider-Man twice in the last 10 years,
Yeah,
and
but
now
it's
they're
like-
going to reboot it again.
Well, can't you only reboot once? They booted it once and they rebooted it. Sorry, I'm getting off.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like-
mean, but
but like
now it's going to be in the Marvel universe, so now it actually matters, and like,
I guess.
that's just based on the new
No, I
rules.
mean,
It's like they're rebooting. I trust me. Spider-Man is my favorite of all the characters, and it's like, do we need another origin story? Fuck no, we don't. Please don't fucking do
Did
that.
they say this is gonna be an origin story?
No. But I'm just saying, it's like, don't give me that. But it's like just a reboot of Spider-Man. It's like there's been 10 million reboots of Spider-Man on TV. Some have been great. Some have been bad.
Ultimate Spider-Man was the
No,
best, right?
It was
You're
the
talking about
worst.
Ultimate Spider-Man?
I'm talking about Spectacular Spider-Man.
I don't
being
know
the
what
best.
that means.
But it's just like these are characters that are going to just continuously be rebooted. So it's like for people to be like, oh, these movies have been rebooted. It's like they have, but I mean, is this one going to be good? Is all that matters. Like it doesn't matter about the Sam Raimi movies or the Andrew Garfield movies. Like whatever. We're talking about the new one, which is now in the universe people actually give a shit about.
Yeah.
And is it going to be good?
It does begs the question though, and Colin, what you're really responding to is the fact that like there's, you know, when this whole genre actually got started, right? When you're seeing Iron Man, like they put so much heart and effort into the storytelling in that movie, and it was good.
Iron Man was awesome.
And it ended up being really, really good. And then to use that as a micro example, Iron Man 2,
Terrible.
not good. I mean, entertaining for what it is. Iron Man 3, different, entertaining.
I liked
for what
Iron
it
Man
is.
3. That was a heartfelt story of him with PTSD.
I liked it, but they weren't Iron Man. They just weren't the original, right? And so when you look at this, you're like, how much effort can they and focus can they really put in all of these?
Even to that,
to make them good.
I feel like that's the same argument of like why before anyone in 2015 through 2019 tweets hashtag Colin was right about any of this, you need to define what the bottom falling out is.
No one's going to tweet that.
I mean, to me,
Yeah,
the
they are.
bottom
Yeah, they
falling
are.
out-
But stop. Let me talk for 2 seconds to get my point out before I lose it, because I'll lose it. We had no expectations for Iron Man. So everyone walked into Iron Man and was like, holy shit, that was awesome, because it was way better than what we thought. It's the same thing with Avengers 1 versus Avengers 2, where, yeah, Avengers 2 didn't make enough money as Avengers 1. So is that the beginning of the end, or is it just the fact that nothing can be Avengers again? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, to me, the bottom dropping out is when they actually cancel one of the movies.
Ooh, that's a good
But
point.
they've
they
already
go-
canceled movies. Spider-Man. Because it was shit.
Well, yeah, but Sony doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
But
either.
What I'm
Sony's
saying is
included on
when
this.
Yeah,
one
yeah,
of these
yeah, yeah.
movies on this list decide, like when they're like, hey,
when
you know what?
Fantastic Four is so bad, they kill Fantastic
Yeah, we're
Four
not
too.
doing Fantastic Four again. That'll be a marker. That'll be a okay. This is not so good. I mean, that'll be them literally trimming back, their share in the market.
I mean,
Saying,
there's
like,
a lot
look,
of.
we're not going to invest so
But
much.
see,
in this.
that's my thoughts on that. Are looking at this list, which ones even have a possibility of being canceled? It's none of the Marvel ones.
Really?
It's none of the Marvel Studios ones, with the exception of possibly Inhumans.
Okay.
Like,
which they probably haven't even written yet, and
But-
they're already announcing it.
I
And
haven't
that's
seen them
the,
canceling any of the other ones.
and that's the
though.
difference between what you were talking about with games. What game was announced that is going to come out in 2019 or 2018? You know what I mean? Other than like what Square Enix is already like, you know what I mean? Like it's different. In fact, like it's as we've talked about many times in games, it's trending in the opposite direction. Fallout
Yeah, thank
4 was
God.
just announced, and it's coming out in this year. You know, I just feel like, to Nick's point, there's not enough. There's just not enough resources or brain power to massage every one of these. You know what I mean? And you know, again, I'll say it, like we went into I saw Iron Man in the theater and I fucking loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
and I like that character a lot. I relate to Iron Man the same reason I relate to Batman, because he's just a normal person. And that's what I like. So I'm disposed to few of these movies because I just think the whole superhero, like superpower thing is just corny. You know? That's just like me, but I'm not trying to judge it based on that. What I'm judging it on is based on, you know, I saw Batman Begins in 2005, and we went in and we had no expectations of that either, right? Christopher Nolan had basically made like Memento, and that was basically it. Like, don't even know who the fuck he was, right? And the movie ended up being extraordinary, right? And those particular kinds of movies, whether it's Iron Man or whether it's Batman, set a cadence where it'd be like, we can make good movies if we are deliberate. It took 10 years almost for all those Batman movies to come out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they took their time, and they didn't announce them 4 years ahead of time, and they didn't have preconceived notions. Certainly, they had to make a change after the second Batman movie, because Joker was clearly going to be in the third one too. You know, so there was all sorts of things that they had to do, movement they had to make. They weren't bold enough, and frankly brash enough, and frankly arrogant enough to say, here is our slate this far ahead of time, and you're going to fucking love it. You know what I mean? And to me, that just is, it's conspicuous consumption on their end to say, like, we are so fucking powerful that we're going to announce all of this shit and you're going to love it. Most of the people that see these movies do not read comic books, and they're getting excited based on hype, and I'm always skeptical of hype.
But see, the thing about the announcing, and I think that's what's different than video games and works for this, is the fact that as a comic book guy myself, there's a lot of these characters that I am not familiar with, that I do not necessarily care about, but because there's now a movie coming out, I've looked into and I've gotten interested in and I've wanted to know more about. And I feel like Iron Man's a perfect example of no one gave a fuck about Iron Man until the Iron Man movie came out. Now, he's one of the, everyone's favorite characters, Iron Man. But looking at this, it's like, I didn't know who the Inhumans were. I still don't care, but I know who they are now because they announced this.
Yeah. Like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. When you start looking at all these things, it's like when you do watch the movies, you're going to be looking out for the things, because everyone wants to be able to say, like, oh, did you catch this? Like, I know this thing, Like, no one knew who Thanos was at the end of Avengers, except for that handful of people. Now when people go into these movies, everyone's like, oh, at the end of stuff, it's like,
you didn't know who that guy.
You either didn't know who that was, or you only know because you've done research now. Like,
sure.
you've invested into this world. And it's like, yeah, should that be how movies are? I don't know, but people buy into it because of that. I do. And, these movies are shaping comic books for better or for worse. Like You see all the business going on of Marvel not doing Fantastic Four movies, limiting their X-Men storylines and all that stuff because they don't own the movie rights to those. And that's unfortunate for comic book readers. But at the same time, like you're saying, the numbers aren't there for the comic book readers. It's not about them. It's about the people informing them about these characters in every media, whether it's TV shows or comics or games or anything. But the movies are what gets the money, and the movies are what is getting everybody, not just comic book fans, paying for the characters.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I again, it's not a matter of, and like to my point I was trying to make to Greg before is like a lot of people are not like, there's going to be most of the people that listen to this are not going to agree with me at all.
But it's not a thing of agreement. You're going to get a thing of like Fantastic Four underperforms, and they're going to tweet you the link with hashtag Colin was right, and that's why I was like, I want to define what we think, what defines what's right about it.
I just feel like it was what I was talking about before with fandom, right? Getting excited about things. I get really excited about things. G.I. Joe, for instance, is like one of my favorite IPs of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have been any less excited about those G.I. Joe movies. I fucking hated that first movie.
Yeah, but you saw the preview of that and you were like, oh, this is gonna
yeah,
be
but when I heard it, when I heard it, I'm like, no, there's something totally fucked up about this. I already know it. You know? Like, why are you even doing this? G.I. Joe is not G.I. Joe the way we know G.I. Joe, the campiness of G.I. Joe. You can't capture that in a movie.
Yeah,
it's not possible.
correct.
So like there comes a time when it's important to say like, I might love something or I might be excited about something, but I need to temper that because I don't want to send the wrong signal to the people that make these decisions that this is what is acceptable to me as a G.I. Joe fan, for instance, right? And I think that fandom gets too into something without a consequence, whether it's a commercial consequence, whether it's a critical consequence of being like basically telegraphing their intentions years ahead of time to say like, yeah, I'm in, you know, and like I'm like, but you don't know anything about it. They just announced it. And showed a logo and stuff like that, and like people are already. So to me, it's coming from a place of like, we deserve better than being treated like that. Because announcing your movies this boldly is fucking bullshit, and I don't, and I'll stand by that. Like, regardless of the quality of the movies, they can all be great and they can all make $1 billion, and I don't care. But I'll always stand by the fact that like they had the nerve to announce movies this early. And remember that these weren't announced recently. These movies were announced, I think, last year.
We were in the car somewhere, I remember.
You know what I mean?
Somewhere, yeah.
And like that to me is the height of fucking absurdity. And so that's like where I get really annoyed by it. You know what I mean? Like, you're so Marvel. Like, what was even the point of announcing these movies? You know,
the point was building the hype for it and making people understand what they're looking forward to, what they're building towards, the fact that this is a universe, and that, you know what, there's going to be the spin-off not spin-offs, but like standalone side movies and the Thor movies that like don't really matter, but they're coming, and you should be interested in them. But don't worry, Avengers 3 is coming, and Avengers 3 Part 2 is coming.
So yeah, I respect that. I mean, if people are excited about this and want to go, I mean, it's your money, it's your time, it's your life, and I know that nerddom has grown. That's why I was bringing up Comic-Con. Most people that go to Comic-Con have no allegiance to comic books. They go because this is a whole new. We've talked about this before about like it wasn't like this when we were kids. Comic books were completely irrelevant when we were kids, and you know, in terms of popular culture, and popular culture is now comic culture in terms of convention culture, in terms of, you know, look how well.
Go to Target and buy your Green Lantern shirt and all this different stuff.
Exactly.
That never would have happened when we were growing up.
Exactly. It's like a totally unfit. That's why something like Iron Man was so excited when X-Men came out, or when Spider-Man even came out, Raimi's Spider-Man. It was just like, I saw all these movies and I actually really liked Raimi's first Spider-Man movie anyway.
Number 2 was so good.
But to me, it was like, I didn't care at all about comic books back then. And I still don't. But I still got excited about these movies because, like you were saying, it's about characters and worlds and stuff like that. But when they just have the boldness and the brashness to be like, we're going to shove all of this shit directly down your throat. You know what I mean? And like, it's unsavory to me, and I don't like it. So, am I going to be wrong? Does almost everyone that listens to this disagree with me? Absolutely positive about that. But I have to be true to the way I feel about these things and why I feel about them.
I think it goes back to what you're always talking about, and then we got to end. I know, but I mean, it goes back to what you're always talking about with the market. Is like, you feel it's bold and brash, and they're shoving it down your throats. I mean, they're giving us what we wanted. Like, this is, I feel like the fight. Don't get me wrong, I've been fighting for a fucking Gambit movie, but I've been wanting.
But you are, but I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Movie's fucking awesome.
So I mean, like, I don't feel like they're shoving it down our throat as much as like, hey, we're listening. This is what we're gonna do, and it's based on what the market wants. And maybe that all explodes now, and we see what happens. But that's that.